Mike McDaniel, and I own Heroes and Villains Comics in lovely Warner Robins, Georgia. We're a comic book store that has been open for around 13 years. We first opened in January of 2004, and we are open today.
Yeah, open 7 days a week. I'm Jenny. I work here and read comics pretty but I read comics pretty frequently, and I'm excited to get started on this new show that we're doing.
Yeah, this is a new feature that we've started. Everyone that works here generally reads comics now and again, and one of the things that you inevitably get asked when you work in a comic book store is this any good? And that's what we're going to address. We're going to pick a book each week, and on Wednesday morning we're going to shoot this video, and hopefully by Thursday or so, depending on when it gets edited.
Andy.
Oh.
Our director, producer. The lovely Miss Andy right here.
Hello.
She's Andy, and she also works here too. And she's a filmmaker by trade, and we probably couldn't have done this without her, so it's a joint effort. But we're going to take a book each week, and we're going to dissect it and give you our critique. This show is called Heroes and Villains Spinner Rack. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
For our first book, we decided to take a look at DC's Dark Days, The Forge.
Word to the wise, if you do not like spoilers, you should probably leave this video right now, because we are going to delve pretty deep into the story of this book. Dark Days, The Forge is a one-shot done by DC that will lead into a series called Dark Knights Metal. So if you really enjoy this book as much as I have, Dark Knights Metal will be out in August.
All right, and so the comic itself is sort of, it's one story woven together by 3 different artists and 2 different writers. Scott Snyder of Batman Court of Owls fame, and James Tynion IV. But the art is by Jim Lee, Andy Kubert, and John Romita Jr. And I mean, that's 3 pretty big names in comics, legends. With Jim Lee, you get Scott Williams doing the inks, and you also have Klaus Jensen inking as well. And he's, Klaus is one of Frank Miller's guys. He's done other stuff too, but he was the inker on the Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. So it has 3 different covers. This here is the main cover. That's the cover we decided to put on display, but it has this cover.
We've got the Aquaman cover as well.
Aquaman.
Well, it's Aquaman.
Yeah, it is
And
Aquaman.
Batman.
She loves Aquaman.
I like Aquaman.
Yeah.
Alright, so Dark Days The Forge is about the superheroes finding out Batman has been digging around into things he probably ought not be digging around in for a while now. It starts off with a little bit of backstory into ancient Egypt, and then comes into a pretty big action scene where Batman has tunneled through a volcano.
Yep, it does. It does. And the ancient Egypt stuff deals with Carter Hall, who is Hawkman.
Gotcha.
And some of his mythos. And, one of the things they've done with Hawkman over the years is they've retconned it to be where he's just, not only is he an immortal that's been reborn, but he's had, multiple lives throughout the timeline, DC's timeline, and that sort of ties into the story.
Right. Hal Jordan has been sent on a super secret mission to find out who's been digging into things they better not know, or the universe doesn't need to know.
Yeah, basically he's sent to investigate Batman, and there's a really humorous scene. He basically breaks into the cave and encounters one of Batman's
New
new
ally.
Hal actually mirrors some of our questions about it, because
Right.
Hal doesn't know who he is either, and says, "What's your code name?" And he actually says, "Big Bird."
Yeah, he calls him Big Bird once. Yeah, I like that this book, while it's very serious and has kind of darker tones to it, since what Batman is digging into affects the entire multiverse, not just his universe. They still find ways to interject just a little bit of comedy in there without making it too kitschy.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. The whole theme of the book, and the title is The Forge, and the theme of the book is this metal. And the history of the metal sources. You know, it starts trying to unfold through the book, and there are references to.
So you've got Dr. Fate's mask is in this secret cave that Batman has been holding with the Electrum, I think is what the metal was called. Or no, the Electrum is where he found the metal, the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
Amulet thing.
I want to say that the metal is probably the nth metal, which is I think originally it was introduced on Earth by Thanagarians, which you know is where Hawkman gets some of his cool swag from.
Yeah. The book calls it Dionysium for some reason, but it has Dr. Fate's mask, the Triton of Atlantis. You see Wonder Woman's bracers.
Yeah, there are pictures in the Batcave that Batman's looking at, and it sort of insinuates that this metal has been used to create all these objects.
Yeah. Which then makes me wonder, because Hal enters the cave and his ring starts burning. So maybe his ring has this metal in it as well.
That's true.
And trying to figure out what this metal is going to do, how it's going to affect the rest of the multiverse, because if it's burning Hal by being closer to the sample, which, I mean, this may not be what's triggering it, but if it is, what's in the core of the Earth that they're looking for?
Yeah, and then there's also a shadow organization that, you know, you really don't know a whole lot about, that are a group of people that are immortals, and I think Vandal Savage is among them.
Right.
I think he does make an appearance in the book, which, I mean, he's a creepy enough guy on his own. He doesn't need guys to go along with him to make him any more creepier.
So Mr. Terrific shows up and has been helping Batman by investigating similar tectonic occurrences.
Batman references that Mr. Terrific's not on this Earth, which means he's, you know, off in the multiverse. And Mr. Terrific, you know, Jenny commented to me earlier that she wasn't really familiar with Mr. Terrific, but Mr. Terrific's a second generation hero, in that the first Mr. Terrific was a member of the Justice Society, and Mr. Terrific is too, but he's just a newer version of that character.
Right. And as all of this is going on, so you've got Green Lantern investigating Secret Tunnel Cave.
Yep.
You've got Batman and Mr. Terrific talking about these weird tectonic occurrences, kind of earthquake stuff. And as all that's going on, you've got Hawkman kind of doing a voiceover, reading his journal, and he relives a nightmare in the scene, which you only get a view of, and it's what they've used for the cover of the book.
Yeah.
Where Batman, it almost looks like Batman has like this super police state going on, but I'm not really sure where he goes awry, and if it has something to do with the thing they were looking at on the computer with the hand coming out.
Yeah, now that's a reference to, I think with the hand coming out is a reference to Krona, who was a guardian who decided he wanted to use technology to go back and look at how the universe began, and when he did, you know, some bad stuff happened, and then it eventually led to Crisis.
And so it seems like if you haven't read Crisis of Infinite Earths, which I haven't, you may want to pick that up and read it. It might give you a little more insight into what's going on in this book.
And we'll talk about that later on when we, you know, get to that in the book, because there's a huge reveal, and it's like a WTF moment. And, you know, personally, I want to know what the heck Batman's doing, hiding something as big as what he's hid for all these years, which is kind of creepy. But then, like, Batman and Mr. Terrific are talking about, well, this person has been locked up long enough, and they're going to release him, and all you see is a picture in the cave, or not a picture in the cave, but something that they've had locked up, and it's Plastic Man. So, you know, if there's Plastic Man fans out there, well, you get Plastic Man, you get Mr. Eel O'Brien. So if you've been wondering where he's at, he's been locked away in the Batcave or some bat environment. For what purposes? I don't know. Do you know?
No, Plastic Man is not someone I thought Bruce Wayne would kidnap and store in his cave, but you know.
You know, the character is a criminal, but I don't know why Batman would have him locked away. And there is a picture that I'm looking at right now of two Earths, which, you know, Mr. Terrific's been on one of the Earths, presumably with the Justice Society. There you go. So as the book progresses, it does a really good job of, like, you know, you're dealing with these characters and then it flips to other characters. So the whole time Batman's talking with Mr. Terrific, well, Green Lantern and Duke are walking their way through the Batcave, and the deeper they get in that storyline is when Hal's ring starts burning in his hand and reacting to something in the Batcave, which Hal at one point's like, hey, let's back off, let's go get the Justice League.
Right.
But somebody starts speaking into the darkness at Hal and starts kind of tempting him and egging him to come forward, and, you know, Hal, being a guy without fear, pretty much starts walking towards the voice in the darkness.
Right.
Which, that's always a smart thing. Last page of the book is where the reveals start happening. The book progresses on into more Carter Hall, and then Batman goes to the Fortress of Solitude, and he goes outside the fortress, and it's pretty funny. He doesn't even attempt to, like, break in or anything. He pretty much asks Clark to let him in.
Right.
I wish they would have showed the, you know, Superman's doorbell. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
But Superman's there. He lets him in, and then they start having a discussion. And there's a secret room in the Batcave, or not the Batcave.
In the fortress.
In the Fortress of Solitude, where Batman's storing stuff. So undoubtedly, he's just, you know, packing stuff away all over the place, which is,
right.
you know, what in the world's going on with Batman?
Which makes me wonder if he doesn't have secret facilities at other superhero locations, like, you know, maybe he's got something stored with Wonder Woman to kind of keep all the stuff separate.
Could be. And one of the things that they reveal is this room has a key to it, and Batman doesn't possess the key, neither does Superman. And Batman told Superman at one point, don't go in the room, don't look in the room, and Superman, you know, agreed to that, and Superman states in the book that he hasn't violated that trust.
Right.
And Mr. Miracle shows up because Batman needs somebody to get in the room. I think Batman at one point says, well, you know, Mr. Miracle asks, where's the key? And Batman says, I threw it in the sun, you know, which is a good place to put a key.
Especially to a room you don't want anybody to have access to.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things in there that kind of spoke to how serious the situation is Superman approached Batman about what's in the room, and Batman's like, I'm not keeping it from you. You will know. It's just, you can't know right now.
You know, and Batman, through the last, I'd say, 20 years, has had a history of hiding stuff from his allies, you know, and this isn't really any exception, but the exception is that he actually says, well, I'm going to reveal it to you, but, you know, this isn't like a previous Justice League story where, you know, Batman is hiding, you know, ways to defeat the Justice League, that, you know, his computers get hacked and then all the info gets out.
Right, and one of the things
WikiLeaks.
that I thought was really interesting is part of the reason I picked this book for us to go to overview is that they said that he was hiding some big secret.
And it's pretty big.
It's huge, but I was not expecting it to be a link to Infinite Crisis. I
Right.
thought it was going to be some sort of...
And Mr. Miracle, like, before we get to see it, he's reacting to what it is, because he breaks into the room and he finds it, and he's like, well, you know, Batman, why are you keeping this? And it flat out is from Crisis on Infinite Earths, and this is the absolute edition of Crisis. If you've never read Crisis and you want to see a very good, probably the pinnacle of how a huge company-wide universe crossover is done, it's Crisis on Infinite Earths. It came out in 1985. It's a 12-issue series in itself, but it literally crossed over into every DC book in the DC universe at that time. And at the end of it, the DC universe, it's still not the same from it. So the repercussions from Crisis are, if you read comics today, you're still you're still living in a world or reading a world that's been influenced by a series that happened back in 1985, 1986. But one of the things, the big reveal in the room is
in the room that is in the fortress.
Right.
Right. Is actually it's from Infinite Crisis, but
Okay.
is it a power cell?
Well, what it is there was a series of towers that were created by the frickin' Anti-Monitor, and it's not a good thing to have one of these things laying around. I don't know why Batman's keeping this. I guess it's this is what this mystery's about, and it's got me it's got my interest peaked. So when they reveal that, then they immediately flip back to the Batcave, and Duke and Green Lantern are still being beckoned forward by the mystery voice.
They've made a couple of guesses as to who it is, and they were
Yeah.
really wrong.
Somebody says, "Okay, it's Alfred. Is that your?" Duke goes, "Alfred, is that you?" And the voice is like, "No, it doesn't really react to
Yeah,
that."
it doesn't react to any name that he's been called.
And then they call out Dick, and Dick Grayson. Not.
People you would expect to know what's going on in Batman's life, and then all of a sudden you get to the second to last page, and you see Joker writing on a wall a series of numbers, which, if anyone out there is into the cryptography, what's the word I'm looking for?
You're hitting on it right there.
The decoding kind of stuff. There is probably on that last page some information you could probably get off.
It's probably an Easter egg, but it's lost on me, and I guess it's lost on Jenny too. But why the Joker is locked in a room underneath the Batcave, I don't know. I mean, does Batman not subscribe to due process anymore?
Well,
What's the deal? He's just gonna lock up people for, I don't know. Better have good reasons.
it seems to me that maybe Joker knows something about the metal as well,
Yeah.
and so he is using that knowledge in some way. Because Joker alludes that Batman's not the first one to discover this.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the metal itself. Back to Carter Hall. Carter Hall is one of these people that has benefited from the metal, and Carter, as Hawkman, he uses the metal to fly, so on and so forth. But Carter being not only an immortal in that he's reborn, but he's also an archaeologist. So that sort of ties it all. But Carter himself gives the prophetic warning that if there's anyone ever that's digging into what this metal is, don't follow his footsteps.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty dark omen, to stop looking.
Well, there are 4 different tribes.
Right.
One is the bird, which I'm assuming is Hawkman.
It could be a hawk or it could be an owl, because the court of owls are referenced in this as well.
The other's a bear, and there's a wolf. And then he corrects himself about there being 3 and saying there's actually 4.
There's a 4, and the 4th is
a bat. And it looks exactly like Batman's symbol.
Yeah. So what I want to know is when does Bearman and Wolfman show up too?
Yeah, well, they've had Wolfman in other comics, not DC. But,
Yeah. I don't think we're getting a crossover with somebody else's Wolfman. And that's Hawkman talking about it, or Carter Hall.
Right.
My interest is piqued at this, and when I was reading it, I was like, okay, well, when, just my mind wandered and was like, well, when does the second issue come out? But it's a one-shot, so, and it's going to lead into other things, and so DC's been doing this for a few years now, where they start off the summer with, in the past, not the last few years, but they start off the summer with a one-shot that sort of piques your interest and and kind of tries to hook you in. And later this summer they're going to be coming out with the Watchmen crossover as well. So
they're finally putting some stuff into Rebirth.
What happened after the whole Rebirth thing with the button, they wrapped that up. Had a little storyline between Batman and the Flash.
Right.
It was 4 issues of 2 of Batman, 2 of the Flash, and they came in alternating weeks, which was really good. So maybe that'll tie in together too. But it looks like we're headed to some massive multiverse crossover. I don't want to use the word crisis because, I'm very fond of Crisis on Infinite Earths, but it's been, when you start using and throwing around the word crisis in DC, it's kind of like throwing around Secret Wars, words like that in Marvel. It's kind of gotten bad connotations. Final Crisis was utter crap, and Infinite Crisis was kind of meh, but Crisis on Infinite Earths was definitely, I think it's definitely worth a read. Again, I'll give it a second endorsement if you've never read it.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, if you haven't read Dark Days of the Forge, I think it's a great book. It has definitely piqued my interest in DC. Scott Snyder says he's been working on this storyline since he started writing for Batman. So if you want to see, and he said he's also been leaving Easter eggs throughout the entire series as he's been doing this. So if you want to go back and try and get as much information and detail as you can for this, I'd go back and start reading Stark's.
Yep, and the good place to start with that is Batman Court of Owls.
Yep.
The first 6 issues of the New 52 Batman are they're as good as Batman has been in 20 years. It's a really good read, and it continues. In fact, the New 52 run of Batman, hands down, is the best. I think it's the best DC book that they did during the New 52 era. Definitely wasn't an error.
I'm not really a Batman fan, but this book itself has made me want to go back and read all of Batman.
Yeah. So I guess we're giving this a thumbs up.
Yep, 2 thumbs up from me. If you really enjoyed this one shot, again, Dark Knight's Metal will be releasing in August. It's going to be a continuation of this story.
And Dark Days, The Forge is on sale right now for the low price of $4.99. There are 3 different covers. My favorite is the one by Jim Lee.
Yeah, I didn't think I would like it at first because it looks a little dark, but after reading the story, I think it's the best cover.
And the other 2 covers are by Andy Kubert and John Romita Jr. One of the things also I want to throw in there about Andy Kubert is it's interesting to see Andy Kubert doing artwork on Hawkman because his father, Joe Kubert, the late, great Joe Kubert, did Hawkman for so many years. And it's kind of a nostalgia thing to see a Kubert doing work on Hawkman and Carter Hall, so that's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we said, this is going to be a continuing series. We are going to take a book a week and do the same type of
kind of dissection, recommendation.
Hope you guys watch. Click the subscribe button somewhere on
Where are we going to put it? Over here?
We'll figure it out.
Yep. So come back. We hope you do. Thanks a lot.